Well, I'm Scott Williams. This is Berkshire Hathaway, and this is part of my podcast, and this is part of a series for Berkshire Hathaway to help agents who are newer in the business or who would like a refresh on what things might be appropriate as far as statistics as you're going into a listing presentation, how to use statistics in a listing presentation. We're going to look at a listing presentation today, as well as how to get started with the whole process of how to talk to your customers about what statistics might make sense to deal with when you're getting ready to put a property on the market. So I'm going to start sharing some things on my screen here. We're going to start off with, let's make sure that everybody can see this on their screen. Can everybody see this? Some thumbs up there. Okay, good. This right now, I'm in something called inventory and production. We're going to go to summary statistics, which is the first choice. And you don't really have to make notes about this. I'm just showing you where this is in the MLS so you can find this. We are going to the type of property we're going to use is home estate and PUD. If you're new and just joining us, please mute yourself. And we're going to take this for the South Coast. I hope you're all familiar with this as far as like going into the MLS and looking at statistical things. If you're not, I would be able to help you when you do get down to that point where you're having to try and do this yourself. We are going to be putting in the MLS, not just the member, and I'm going to set this for 12 months. In just a moment, I'm going to show this to you all printed up, make it easy for you to see. May a year ago, let's change that to a year ago, and then we'll see from the MLS, here's the statistical review of the last 12 months, showing a little over 1,300 homes that have sold with a median sales price of $2 million and cumulative days on the market of 28 days. And, you know, we can see the new listings over 1,400. So there's a lot of data and a lot of important information here. Now I'm going to shift this right now, and we're going to start up the presentation looking at this stuff, but that's where I find it. It's in the MLS. So quick review of things that you may or may not know about me. I have been doing this for over 30 years, quite a bit longer than it. Actually, I now say over 30 just because that's enough credibility. I've sold over 800 homes in Santa Barbara and Montecito. I'm in the top 1,000 agents in the United States out of 1.4 million of us. And I've really specialized over the years in preparing homes for sale. I've done over 300 houses, pardon me. I've done over 300 houses where we prepared the house for sale, did a lot of work on getting the home ready for sale. So that I've spent over $10–15 million on getting houses ready for sale. Now, we were just a moment ago looking at the summary statistics from the MLS. So this is what a page looks like. Now, I'm not going to submit, I'm not going to have you take a look at all of this stuff, or here I wrote down how many homes sold in 2021, how many sold in 2022, the change, the percentages. What we're going to do, thanks to my assistant, Jasmine, we're going to start by taking a look at South Coast houses, and here is the statistics in a nice printed format to make it easier for you to see. And you can see here, this is the 12 months. We start with 12 months, and then we move to smaller increments of time because we want to sort of see how the marketplace is doing over time. What we're trying to do is talk with a customer who wants to put their home up for sale about what is the velocity of the marketplace. What is the context that they're going to go into? We know that house prices are rising, but how much are they actually rising? And then this varies from part of the market to part of the market. But this is something that they want to know about and that you should have mastery over pretty much all the time, where the market's going. It's not enough to say it's really hot, it's really crazy. That won't get you very far in a real conversation with a real seller. So you can see here that the percentages of properties in the 12 months compared to the 12 months before are down. We're selling fewer homes. As far as new listings, they're also down. Here's the change of the price, what they're most interested in. in the last 12 months on the South Coast for houses, they have gone up $370,000. This is the median price, or 21.4%. Or what we're really wanting to find out is how much are they changing each month? 1.8% per month. DOM here is days on the market, and we can see that the sales are going faster. And we also are checking the percentage of the sales price to the original list price. We can see that a year ago they were getting almost 94%, and now they're getting 100% of the listed price. The prices are going higher, and there's the evidence of that right there. This is 12 months. What about year to date? There it is, year to date. So that is basically the first 4 months of this year. We're here basically on the first of the month. We can see that in 2021, that's how many homes were sold. 2022, it was 128 less. So we actually, this year, we've sold 27% fewer houses than last year. If you're noticing, I'm not selling as many houses as I'd like to sell. There's the evidence that that's applying to all of us. New on the market, it's still down. And then the price, the median price, it's also up 21.4%. If you remember, it was 21.4% for the last 12 months. And then here it is for the last 4 months. This is showing the steadiness of the increase in pricing. We can feel it, but there's the evidence of how steady it is. Days on the market are down to 25, and the average list price, sales price is still hanging right on over 99%. Now here it is, South Coast 30 days. This is the last month. This is starting to be a small sampling. You can see that it's only 99 houses. When we get to this small of a sample, it starts to be that we can't rely on the data quite so much. It can be thrown off by just a few sales. So here we are, we can see that we're down almost 40% in the number of sales in the last 30 days compared to the same 30 days. This is basically the month of April a year ago. New listings are down. The price, however, is up 32%, but we're only comparing a 30-day period to a 30-day period last year. Still, this is, I don't want to stand on it and say that we're just going faster and faster, because this is still a small amount of houses. But there it is, it's showing 2.7% per month change of pricing. And the average property is selling for 102%. The average property is selling over the listed price. This is something you just need to have in the background as you start to do a listing presentation. The very first thing you should find out is what is the velocity of the marketplace. Before you start looking at other houses, it's like a buyer should know how much they can afford before they go looking at houses. A realtor should know how fast is the market going up before they start doing their comparables. This is the very first thing you do. And it's changing all the time, and you're going to start to get sensitive to how much is it changing. You want to be ahead of the curve of your customer. You want to know more than they do. So here we're going to switch from the whole South Coast. We're going to look at 2 neighborhoods before we look at a market analysis. And I'll take a pause after we've looked at Montecito and Goleta, and we might have a few questions about this process. But here we have 12 months. This is the Montecito market. I took this only 24 hours ago. So this is the first, looking at 12 months. And you can see that there's quite a significant slowdown in 2022 versus 21. The percentage of sales are down 31%. New on the market, there's also fewer coming for sale. Now, the average on the price increases on the South Coast was about 21%. In Montecito, it's over 35%. That's basically 3% a month. So you can't just take the South Coast average and apply it to all homes. You can go way off the mark if you just use the South Coast. You have to sort of drill down into the school district, into the neighborhood, to the section of town. You want to get you want to get drilled down to just around the home that you're starting to think about pricing. You can see that days on the market in Montecito are still at 51. That's only 7 weeks. Oftentimes that was 6 months in the past. Certainly much faster sales, and they're still 96% in Montecito. That's in the last 12 months. Year to date, you still see a distinct, very strong drop, almost 40% in the number of sales this year compared to last year. New houses are down, but you see the price is only changed. Instead of 36%, instead of 3% a month, it's at 23, 24%. It's only 2% a month. This is just something for us to notice, like, I wonder if the market's maybe slowing down a little bit. Is the high end starting to lose a little bit of its rocket? We don't know that for sure, but there's some evidence here that that might be happening. It's just something to have in the back of your mind. This emerges from from doing this. Days on the market down to 36 days, just barely over a month in Montecito. And let's see. This is the last month. This is 1 month in Montecito. Again, we have dropped. These are very small numbers now, so we don't want to spend. We can't just land on like this is exactly what's going on, because there's only 18 sales here. It's a very, very small number, and we can go off the rails pretty quick if we try to make a bunch of conclusions based on just 18 houses. But still, very much a slowdown in evidence. It's very clear from these numbers here that the number of homes sold is going down. Not as many, although look at this. See, we do see that there's a slight uptick in new homes on the market, but it's not really very significant, not very much here. Still, you see a change of 2.5% to the positive in terms of sales price, and compared to a year ago, and they're still getting almost 97%. It's still evidence, plenty of evidence of a firm market. Now let's just switch to the other end of town, and then we'll take questions after we've gone through Goleta, because here's the last 12 months in Goleta. Look at this, 333 houses versus 334. It can't get much more even than that. We're selling, so clearly Goleta is quite a bit different than Montecito. This is just something to sort of know in your mind. This is why you do this. I do this at least once a month just to sort of like notice, because I never know which market and place I'm going to be going into, what kind of customers I might get. And here's the new houses. Again, they're within one house. That is so even. And that's quite a bit different than Montecito. Prices are up 27%. That's 2.25% per month. Days on the market, we're down to almost 2 weeks. The average house is sold in 2 weeks, and at 104% of the sales price, the market in Goleta is quite a bit hotter than any place else. Of course, the prices are lower. That's understandable. Here's year to date. That was 12 months. Year to date, we see fewer homes are selling. We're still seeing this price change at the 3% a month, at 35.5%. Certainly, a year ago we were getting 102% of the sales price. Now we're getting 105% of the sales price. That's the average. You can see the differences as you look across town at different areas. Again, the last 30 days, plenty of evidence that it's slowing down. We almost half as many sales, but on 30 days, I always caution that we don't stand on these numbers, because there's very few homes. There's very few that are being sold. They're still up over 3%. Let's take a moment here before we go on to the next piece where we start to look at an individual house. But this number here is what this monthly figure, how much are they changing per month, which range from 1.8 to over 3%, depending on where we are. That's the number. We're trying to distill that as we start off our process of listing a house for sale, is how fast is it coming up? And we're going to talk about how you use that number, but you need to know that in your mind as you start to list a house. Okay, so let's open this up. I'll stop Well, maybe I'll leave that up there if somebody wants to talk about a specific screen. But let's open this up and see if there's any questions about distilling this information here. Anybody, anything that's on your mind?
Hey, Scott, Renee Connor here. I have a question.
Please, Renee.
Okay, so on this slide, far right, your monthly number at 3.25% monthly. How are you getting that number from the percentage of, up 39%?
Divide by 12.
Okay, sorry, that was easy. Thank you.
Yes.
Scott, Lori
Yes.
Bartron. My
Yes, Lori.
question is, when you say South Coast Homes, what area are you including?
Okay, well, that was well, we can go back up here to the top. Let's see if I can run this back up here to South Coast Homes. South Coast Homes, these big, multi-thousand numbers here. This is everything from Carpinteria to the Bacara. Everything is South Coast. I'm not bringing any of San Ynez into it at all. I am limiting this to just the strip along the coast.
Thank you.
And you can see here's our base number for the last year is 1.8%. And if I take the South Coast in the last 30 days, I get this higher number, like a little over 2.5%. But remember, we got quite a bit higher numbers when we went to Montecito and even to Goleta. So we have to pay attention to, but this is our object here. We're looking for this one. Anybody else?
Hey, Scott, Chris Smith here.
Chris, yes.
I have a question, and I'm assuming maybe you would know this just from doing all your stats. If you were to dive in on the Mesa, years ago, pre-pandemic, I would believe there was a difference in statistics between schools, right? Washington, Monroe, McKinley.
Yes.
For their current stats, do you still see that difference? Are you finding people are just buying up the Mesa regardless of school?
Yeah, no, there is a difference. Right now, I would say that Washington is the preferred school. And if you go to Monroe, you're going to see a drop of about 6 to 8% less just based upon the school. And if you go to McKinley, it's about a 10% drop in the price of the house based upon the school. Now, if you go to Montecito, you have the same sort of thing. The current value from Cleveland School to Cold Spring or to Montecito Union is about $400,000 to $450,000. That's what people pay for the mailbox in Montecito to be in one of those schools. That's a hard dollar amount, not a percent, but that's pretty accurate. You just have to pay attention to it. Keep track of it from year to year. It's one of those things like a cap rate. If you're evaluating income producing properties, you just sort of need to latch onto those figures and hold on to them. Just keep them. They're part of your toolkit.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I hadn't done that stat on the Mesa in quite a while, and it just seems like everything's flying off the shelf. But
well, it's also true on the Mesa, for instance, because there is Cliff Drive running through the middle of the neighborhood. There's about a solid 5% difference between which side of the street you are on. If you're on the ocean side, it's a good solid 5% higher price. And that's probably increasing because on the ocean side of Cliff Drive, you also are allowed to do short-term rentals, which is a dramatic increase in the income producing potential for a property. And that we still haven't even priced that into the Mesa yet. The difference of Cliff Drive and short-term rentals, that 5% is probably stretching towards 10. Just if it hasn't gotten there yet, it will because of the potential of the property to produce a much higher income. So those little bits and pieces of location, which side of the street you're on, those are huge amounts of money. You just need to, this is the sort of stuff you need to pay attention to, the location part of our business.
Scott?
Yep.
That differential in the school districts, is that a price per square foot differential?
No, it's a percentage of the value of the house. I have learned that there's a few things you need to pay attention to, and that how much more people will pay for one school district versus another. You want to try and convert that in your mind into a percentage. Like I'm using like 6 or 7% for better or higher price for Washington School versus Monroe. In Goleta, it might be, you pick your school district. You've got your higher districts and your lower districts. How much people will pay extra for that? You may be thinking, well, they pay more, but as a real estate agent, that's the thinking of the buyer or the seller. As a real estate agent, you need to take a step beyond that and start turning that into real numbers that you use when you're talking with people, whether it's a buyer or a seller. You should know that. And if it takes you a few months or a few years to pick that up, just make that part of what you're doing as a real estate agent, that you are picking that up and you're trying to turn that into real numbers in your mind. You'll do a much better job for your customers if you actually know that.
Hey, Scott, this is Mark Hubert.
Yes, Mark.
Scott, why are you going back 12 months and not 9 months or 6 months?
Well, 12 months takes out all of the differences of seasonality. And so it's important. If you have 12 months, you don't have anything strange to throw you off, that maybe there's more sales in the springtime and fewer sales at the holiday season at the end of the year. As you take smaller and smaller pieces of the clock, so to speak, or the calendar, you can have factors come in those kind of factors. I always start with 12 months. 12 months is always safe. It's sort of the lumbering number. I'll want to look at some smaller numbers after that. I don't dare look at just 1 month, because they're going to jump up or drop like a rock and they'll make you feel very nervous. But if you start with 12 months, you have a very solid view of what's going on. When COVID came in, we had 3 bad months in there. That is the sort of thing that will get in the way of statistics, but you will have a much better numbers if you start with 12 months. Always start with 12 months. And then break it down. If you can go to 6 months or 4 months, once you get less than about a quarter, you're getting risky of just not having that many numbers, that many houses sold. And so they can get thrown off by just a few sales. The smaller the numbers, the less I stand on those figures like they're really for sure. Anybody else? We'll move on and let's start to talk about the values of houses here.
Scott, hi, Kathy Hughes. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome. I appreciate it. So could we go back to the Goleta slide, please, for a moment?
Okay. Goleta houses. There we go.
So what I was wondering on the inventory, we're equal. Now, where's that other slide that showed how many houses of, okay.
That's 12 months. Now here's year to date. We can start to see, here you start to see the slowdown.
Okay.
Being down 15% or 5%. And it's not too bad. That's over 4 months. But then the last 30 days, you can see the number of homes sold. It dropped quite a bit.
Okay, so that would imply, if there's just in the last 30 days, the listings were up 2, the sales are down 18, and from last year. Yep. And I'm just wondering here, I call about Goleta houses, and I'm not finding those 14 that didn't sell. So I'm just confused where they are, because every time I see something come up in Goleta, it's like boom, at least under 2 mil. So what am I missing here?
Well, what you're starting to see the uncertainty. Look at this. We're talking about a 30-day period of time. Right. We're talking about 20 or 30 houses. Over the course of a weekend, you could have 5 or 10 of them just disappear or come new on the market or crowd the market. The numbers are so small. This is why you cannot rely upon them as your guide.
Yeah.
When you get down to 20 or 30 or 50 houses. And that's one of the problems with a place like the Mesa. We might sell only 100 houses or less in an entire 12-month period of time. The figures there can get squirrely because there's just not that many of them.
Right. Yeah.
This
Okay.
that's the squirreliness you're talking about right there. That's why you don't rely upon it.
You got to go back to the longer period, the 4-month view. And yet at the same time, the market has changed so much in the last 30 days that you sort of want to see what's going on in the current market with the higher interest rates and inflation and lack of consumer confidence. And so how do you personally, because you're really into this and you know what you're doing and you're smart, how do you factor that in when you look at stuff like this, like today's market with almost 1% higher in interest,
Well, this is one of those times, like about 2 years ago, as we moved into the COVID market, I said, the real estate agents most of the time know what's going on in the real estate market more than the public. We lead and we know. We are now entering a time period right now, this moment, where the public is going to know more than we are, because the public, the buyers, are all going to decide. It's like they go to a seminar or something on the weekend and they come back on Monday and say, no, we're not buying any more houses.
Yep.
And the real estate agents are like, oh, the market's on fire. And they don't believe us anymore. This day is coming. Is it a week away, a month away? I don't know, 6 months away, a year away? I don't know. But the real estate agents will be wrong about what we think about the real estate market. So just be aware.
Yeah.
They will tell us that it changed, and we need to be able to adapt to that new reality, because it's coming. It's just like we've adapted the reality that $1 million home is now a $2 million home. We have to wake up in the morning and go, gosh, they're 2 million now. Wow.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We have to go, wow. So do you think I can fake them out? I'm bringing something on in about 12 days, and maybe I can just pretend the market's really, really strong and just get aggressive and someone will buy into it?
Yes and no. You have to be paying close attention to how many offers. I call up agents. We're going to look at this in a little bit. But when I show CMAs, I call up agents and ask them, what can you tell me about that, your sale that took place, 2 nights ago?
I agree. Yeah.
And if they tell me I got one offer and it's not quite at full price, I interpret that as the most possible way for me to stay up to date is to call between 5 and 10 realtors a week and talk to them about their pending sale. The gold is for the agent to know what's going on with the pending sale market. That has to be your guide to where are we going to end up. And you just say, what can you tell me? Well, I had 5 offers. It went way over full price. That's pedal to the metal, solid, hard market.
Yep.
I got one offer and it's, that's not pedal to the metal anymore.
Yeah.
And you'll find that out faster that way than any other method.
Thanks. I agree 100% on that one. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Let's go look at, let's pull out of here, because, this 3% is like, wow, 3%. And I've been doing this for 44 years. Marketplaces at 3% exist only in the present time. They do not exist in the past. If we got to 1% a month, the realtors were like, darn, the market's good. 2% a month, it would just gust to that for a month or two, and then it was gone. 3% and set on there like pegged month after month for a couple of years has never happened before in the 44 years I've been doing it. So do not expect that you will be telling people that their prices are changing 3% a month. That, that's pretty insane. Let's go look at something else here. Here we are. I've jumped into this is the map page. I've skipped the first couple of pages of the CMA. I use Cloud CMA. I find it to be very effective because it allows me to talk about the stuff I want to talk to a seller about. Because, we'll talk a little bit about the choices for how you sell a property, but here we are. I'm using a real house that I'm bringing on the market that's listed, that you'll all see in about a month. And that's 870 Arcady Road in Montecito. I decided we'll use Montecito as our, use that for our CMA here. And if you're not familiar with Cloud CMA, do get familiar with it. The green ones here are for sale, active. The yellow ones are pending. and the red ones are sold. So we're going to go ahead and look at look at the, how do I use this information about the velocity of the market in a presentation? Here we're looking at the 4.5 to 4.25. When I give numbers, I put the high number first. I know that's not the way most people think about doing it. They'd say the house is worth between 4.25 and 4.5. I prefer to say the house is worth between 4.5 and 4.25 because they hear the 4.5 and they like that number much better than the 4.25 number. So I just deliver them what they want as the way that I deliver it to them. They sometimes will have a little jog in their mind, but it's okay. I don't, that's just a choice on my part of how do I do it. When I give them a range, and I don't hold the range back. I tell them the range before I even explain to them where the range came from. I don't like lead up to it. I want to get that out of their minds because otherwise they're just waiting with anticipation. Here is a house, and the first thing that real estate agents do, and I get compared with a lot of real estate agents. In Montecito, I'm much more often in a multiple realtor competition than I was in Santa Barbara. It's much heightened in Montecito. I have to compete against Nancy and Crystal and, on and on. There's just, and they want to talk to all of us. But one of the things I found is that not all the real estate agents in any area will adjust their comparables. They just sort of average them and throw them all together and then talk about the speed of the marketplace and hope that does it. That's their conversation, I think, for a lot of them. I'm taking, now this is a recent home sold. These are all close. This one is so, because I'm getting down to the time factor here. Don't actually have it in this first one. We're going to see it in the second one. I think that there's 4 things that a real estate agent ought to generally adjust for, and they are the location, the condition, the size, and time. Time is that how fast is the market going up? Because if a house sold 4 months ago and the market's going up 2.5% a month, I have to adjust 10%. 2.5% times 4 months. It might get back to the point where it's 1% times 4 months or 0.5% times 4 months. The adjustment may not be so big, but right now, time is a really big adjustment. So here in this particular case, I'm comparing Arcady, which is off of Sycamore Canyon, and I'm saying this house on Remedal had a better location. So I'm adjusting down for location. It's also in better condition than my new listing. So I'm adjusting down for condition. The sizes are the same. They're the same square footage. And sometimes the square footages may not be revealed. You have to sometimes go dig. That's another seminar on how to dig up square footages. Time, in this case, is even because this is selling this week, like last week. And I would consider the marketplace is in a real possibility of beginning to turn right now. So I'm not going to pile on for a house that sold a week ago. Mine has a guest house. Mine is in Cold Spring School, and the other one's in Cleveland. And SB9 possibility. Mine is a possibility of being split. It's 1 3/4 acres. Would come out very nicely as a 3/4 acre parcel and a 1 acre parcel. It'd come out beautifully that way. It's access off of 2 streets. The other lot would have its own access. Very nice for splitting. I'm not adding very much here. The value of a 1 acre parcel in Montecito right now is about $2 million. But we'll talk, SB9 isn't a whole nother conversation, but it's coming to a value of a property that you're going to sell soon. And you should start to at least get used to the fact that about 5 or 10% of all properties out there have a lot of value in SB9 and about 90% of them don't, but you should know the difference. So this one sold for $4,125,000. I'm thinking my comparable value is $4,482,000. So I'm going to show you a couple of these, and then I'm going to, I don't want to get buried in just the statistics of it all. But here's another house that another price. Now here I'm using Hodges Lane, which you may have seen last Wednesday on Broker Tour. It is in escrow. I'm using this as a pending sale. You see the P here for pending. I called up the agent. They got one offer. A lot of people circling, but only one offer. And it sold for less than the listed price. He wouldn't tell me exactly, but my body English of our conversations, it sold for about $200,000 less. We'll find out the end of the week because it's only a 1 week escrow. I'll get to confirm that. It's got a better location than my property. So I gave it, I took off for that. Mine's in quite a bit better condition. This was a terrible fixer. Mine's much bigger. I'm adding for that. Guest house ADU, although it had a guest house ADU, but it was a barn. I have quite a bit bigger lot. Time even today. So I'm coming out at still over $4 million for my property here. Now let's use one where we use the time, because I went to all that trouble to say time is important. And the price has changed. So let's use this one here on Remodel Road. Okay, it's slowing down here. This is Dan Ensel's listing. And so here we go. Again, I misspelled percentage there, but this listing had a better location, so I'm subtracting. It had better condition. The sizes were the same. Mine had a guest house, it doesn't. Mine has quite a bit bigger lot. Now here you go. Here's where the time. There's $300,000 of difference here because that one sold 3 months ago, and I'm using the aggregate 2.5% in Montecito per month change, 7.5%. I'll end up with way too low a price if I don't take that time into effect. There's the SB possibilities. And again, Cold Spring School, and I get $4,600,000. Let's go back. I'm going to take let me get my screen share. I want to get a different screen up here. And where is, okay, there it is right there. Okay, so here, okay, what you see here, because I did 7 different properties where I took and did all the adjusting. And I want to get this up on the screen where you can see them all at the same time here. So the lowest one was at $4,040,000. The highest one was $4,961,000, and the median was 4.4. That's all those adjustments. And so you can see here the average is 4.425. The high-low average, where you throw out this highest number and you throw out the lowest number and re-average them, is 4.5. And the median is 4.482. There's a really big pointer on this property that says it's worth about $4.5 million. Now, let's turn this open again to people who might want to ask questions either about the adjustment process or anything else about using the statistics that we created of that 2.5% a month change in Montecito. And you can see I could use 2%, I could use 3%. I've got numbers that say it's in there. I'm not trying to call it perfectly. I'm just trying to get it within. Because if I put this thing up for sale for $4.5 million and 6 people want to buy it and it goes for 5, okay. If I put it up for $4.5 million and nobody wants to buy it and it takes me 2 weeks or 3 weeks to sell it and we get 4.2, okay. I mean, that's just part of what we have to do. I won't know when I put the 4.5 on it, but the data says it's worth about 4.5. Okay, anybody open season here? What do we got to talk about? Anybody?
This is Michelle Damiani. I actually have a question. Where are you, or how are you figuring your numbers in, for the valuation to add or subtract for a bathroom or the lot split? Where are you getting that amount?
Okay, well, I pay attention to, let's look at the lot split for a second. I noticed that 1 acre property in Montecito right now is bringing $2 million pretty solidly. These are lots that had houses wiped off them in the debris flow. And they're $750,000 to $1 million is getting a $2 million price. An acre property might bring as high as $3 million. And then we got specialized places where they might bring more than that. But I'm just sort of in general seeing that there's about $2 million. When you split a lot, sometimes you take some value off of one side and add on to the other. You have to pay attention to that. These are things that you're just in the back of your mind that as a real estate agent, you're saying, I want to learn how to get good at what's a lot worth. Well, you have to pay attention to lots. How much does it cost to build a house? Like if you have a 3,000 square foot house and you have a 3,500 square foot house, what's the difference? It's not bedrooms and baths. I wrap it up into a square footage figure. And for Montecito, I'm going to probably use about $600 a square foot. You can't build a home in Montecito for $600 a square foot. That's too low. It costs more than that. But a used home to a used home is probably a usable figure to get me into the world of it. If it's a contemporary home, I probably need to use at least $1,000 a square foot. If it's a George Washington Smith, I may need to use $2,000 a square foot. If it's a Goleta tract house, I probably need to use $300 a square foot. If it's a condominium, I probably need to use $200 or $225 a square foot. You need to just start getting those figures in your mind. It's not the figure where you take the price of the house and divide it by the land or the square footage of the house, then the price. That gives you a square footage figure that's different than building. I'm using more like the building numbers. This is just things that you can have as your own conversation. You can talk to appraisers about, just in your mind, you need to just sort of gather that up. But if you use 200 for condos, 300 for a tract house, 600 for Montecito or Hope Ranch, at least you're starting to get into the world of it. And if you use 1,000 for a contemporary, which is just a lot more expensive way to house, flat roof, lots of glass, floating, sinks and, all that sort of stuff, it just gets into very big numbers. That's a perfectly good conversation to just sort of keep track of. So you can use that as a comparison. Bedrooms and bathrooms, I don't think are nearly as important as the actual square foot, 3,000 versus 3,500. And of course, if they've decked it to the nines, if it's 3,000 that it's just like, they just came through and did everything, spent $1 million on the remodel, you're going to have to up your numbers.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Now, you can sell real estate, and you can sell real estate quite well without knowing all this stuff. But you'll find that your customers, the more you do know this stuff, the more that they're going to start acknowledging that you know more than they do. So you just want to move in the direction that you do know more than your customers. And they have become very much more knowledgeable in the last few years because the database of the internet that supplies them with information is pretty outrageous. Customers didn't used to know any of this stuff, and now they do. So you'll find yourself well equipped to deal with difficult conversations. And next week, Kyle's going to talk about commissions. I get 6% commissions most all the time. They are able to see that I know more than they do, and that's a lot of what they're hiring. The closer you are to them, the more you're going to end up with a 5% commission. The more you know more than they do, the more you're going to get 5.5s and 5 3/4. Last year I got a couple of 6.5s. So you may think, how do you do that? That's a different conversation, but it has to do with how much I help them fix their house up. I charge extra for that. And that they know that I'm able to, these are uncertain seas and they want to do well. Anything else?
Scott,
Yo,
very impressive how you take a lot of complicated information and present it so simply. It's really impressive, and thanks for sharing.
who was that? Was that Bruce?
That was.
Hi, Bruce. Okay, yeah, there's and don't be worried whether you think is this location 5% better location than that, or 3% or 8%. Just start to notice, like Cliff Drive, which side of the street it's on, you end up with a difference in price. You know, the same is probably true in Montecito, depending upon how far out you are, the price starts to go down as you go farther out into Montecito. You get closer to the schools, it goes up. It's a quieter street, it goes up. It's a busy street, it goes down. There's a set of stairs that goes up to the front door, the price goes down. It's a single level home, the price goes up. You know all of that stuff. Just start to add that into the difference, the way you compare one home to another. There's a master bedroom on the ground floor, or excuse me, the primary bedroom. Let's stay with the plan here. There's a primary bedroom on the ground floor. That's more valuable than there's a primary bedroom on the second floor. You know all of these things. Just start to see that these are going to make a difference in how you value something. Okay. Now, one of the things about this that I know from past times doing it, people will go right back to the beginning and say, now I want to get some statistics about the neighborhood or the school district. I want to do around Kellogg School. Okay, so we're going to eliminate everything but Kellogg School. Just find out what's happening in Kellogg School District. You may want to call me up and say, can you do me a quick refresher on, you know, looking at Kellogg School District a year ago versus now, and what were those 5 things, the number of solds and the number of new ones and the price, the days on the market and the percentage of sales price. You know, those are the 5 things I think that tell you what's going on in the marketplace. Call me up, say, you got 10 minutes? I want to talk about this because I got a listing coming up. It's okay, call me.
Scott, you mentioned the square footage for remodels. Do you have for new construction, say in Montecito, Hope Ranch, or downtown areas?
Yep, the $600 a square foot or 800. It's that number.
Yeah, for new build, new construction.
Well, no, new construction is a little different. I'm talking about used house to used house. You know, the house that's 20, 30 years old.
Yeah, no, I understood that. I was just saying, do you have numbers for new construction?
For new construction,
yeah,
it's probably between $1,000 and $2,000 a square foot, depending on where you are and what you're doing. But it's very easy to spend $1,000 a square foot right now for any kind of construction. It's shockingly high prices. We all know supply chain, price of plywood, up, up, up.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, people are paying a super premium right now for a remodel house because they know it costs them an arm and a leg to do it, and it can take months. I'm ordering windows right now. I was going to get Milgard Windows, a local company, you know, LA, or between here and LA, Thousand Oaks, where the heck they're from. It's currently a 4.5 month wait, and they prioritize all orders of over 50 windows. So I want to order 1 window, but anytime a builder orders 50 windows, he goes in the line in front of me. So my 4.5 months is probably 5 months, who knows what. To find a window company that would be able to build me a window in 5 weeks was a trial to find somebody who would, you know, in a month can deliver me a window. So that's the sort of thing that will make people pay a premium for something that's already nicely done. So they don't have, I'm dealing with a customer right now. He's doing a, what do you call it? A very contemporary home. They had a 5-month wait, and they've just been told that's been extended to 8. They have an entire project sitting there with holes in the wall, everything constructed to put the windows in, and they have an 8-month wait. Oh my God, what a cost. Anybody?
I just had a comment. I think one of the things I noticed in your presentation is that you made a comment several times about talking to someone or getting information from an appraiser or builders or whoever it is. And I think what for me, what's coming across is just the importance of networking as real estate agents and professionals among each other. And you don't make up those statistics, Scott. Like, you have relationships with people that you've built over time, and you learn those things, and you learn these adjustment numbers based on not only your experience, but because of your relationships, I think. And I think that's probably just something that I'm going to take away from this, is just the importance of networking and being connected with people who, could sort of be like a mentor for you, or and share information with each other. That's what makes the real estate profession so professional, is that it's not just you. You don't have to carry this information on yourself. You don't have to put all of the weight of information on one individual, but we have the ability to share. And so I appreciate this class and everything that you just put out there, but also want to just encourage everybody, like Scott got that information from making relationships with people and building rapport and over time. And I think all of you have the ability to do that as well. And he's just shown you just an incredible way of doing that. So really good job, Scott.
Thank you, Kristen, because what you're saying is actually a very important observation. We are being chased down by Zillow and a bunch of other companies that aggregate information. It's sort of like, Facebook in the real estate world, or Amazon. You looked at, exercise bikes, so we're going to send you more exercise bikes. If we as real estate agents allow ourselves to only look at the properties that closed escrow 30 days ago, we're no different than Zillow, because Zillow has that information and they will aggregate it and put it together. Your discussion with another real estate agent, they know that the information they have as a pending sale is the gold. And if we help each other, we stay one step ahead of the computers that will eat our lunch if we just let them. So we do need, so when somebody calls me up and say, what happened last night? How many offers did you have? I may not tell them everything, but I need to give them some body English. They're part of me. They're part of our business. I need to help them, because otherwise Zillow comes along and destroys what we have. It's all being destroyed little bit by little bit. I mean, I've been in the business a long time. Some of you who are in for another 20 or 30 years will see a lot of things taken away and dealt with. But we are organized real estate. This is the group activity of a lot of people. And otherwise you just end up with the computerized best guess at the price of everything. And I'm not sure that that's really good for our customers. The computer doesn't know that this side of the street is better than that side of the street, but you do. As long as that's true, we all have a good job that pays us really well, and I'm happy for it. You need to, Kristen, what you're talking about is staying in contact with the people, and don't be afraid to call up and the agent, and they may say, I'm not going to tell you anything. Okay. You will not have a bad night's sleep because a realtor said, I'm not going to tell you anything. You'll have a really good night's sleep if they tell you, yeah, we're about $500,000 over the listed price. You're like, hallelujah. I know what's going on. And you'll have a much better night's sleep. Okay. All right. Good luck, all those great new real estate agents and old ones. There's some 30+ year people on the 40. Kathy Hughes, 45-year plus people on the line here. It's a good group. We're in a good company. Anything else?
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Yeah, Lori, thank you. Okay. Good luck with applying some of this to, now you know the velocity of the marketplace. At least you know what's going on in Goleta and Montecito right now. Okay. Call me if you need any help.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Scott.
Scott.
Bye-bye.